Welcome to Burnt Out. The Burnt Out podcast shares the stories of firefighters, emergency personnel, and other first responders around the world to create a pathway to save lives. The stories you will hear are real and may be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. And now I'd like to introduce you to your hosts for Burnt Out, Skip O and Jeff the Old Guy.
Thank you, Sean, for that introduction. And I'd like to thank all the listeners tuning in for today. We're on a mission to help save lives and change lives for first responders. And we couldn't do that without sponsors. And you can see our sponsors at burnoutpodcast.org. That's burnoutpodcast.org. Today, we're going to be reflecting on Oakland firefighter, retired, Jason Sautel. He wrote the book, The Rescuer. And we're going to listen to a little bit of his interview we had, and then we're going to expand on it after we listen to his interview.
When you're in a firehouse, you don't want to talk about the struggles of your past, the struggles of the job, the things that you're going through more times than not. And people can fight me and say, well, at our firehouse, we do. Well, come to Oakland, California and sit in 5-engine or 15-engine or 20-engine and have those conversations. They're not being had. Once I left the fire department after a 22-year career, I started realizing that my stories could impact people. So I prayed upon it and said, God, you let me experience these things. How can I use them to bless other people? And that's where it came from. But the coolest thing about it, Skip, is how God is using it to bless other people. Some people, it reignites their faith. Other people say, hey, I struggle with the traumas that come with the jobs. Others say I had a real tough childhood. So it's just so cool to sit back and see the multiple different ways that it's just helping other people. It's just, for me, sitting back and seeing the emails, it's just not a one-sided book. Like some folks say, this is all about PTSD. Well, I don't see it as that. I see it as one portion of the book. Well, it's all about faith. Well, that's obviously the driving light that pushes me. But it's just, I think, totally rounded out that hopefully whoever reads it will get something out of it. And that's why I ended up writing it.
As Jason said in his interview, talking about the kitchen table, firefighters just don't talk about that stuff. And the stuff that Jason is meaning is the pain that goes on the job, those scenes that we don't talk about our feelings. We don't talk about our fear. If we're hurting, that's something we just don't talk about. The reason why fear has something to do with it, the stigma of PTSD, is it even out there at the department is still like that? Now it's getting better, but still, even at my department, when we get done with a bad run, I remember the fatalities of children or adults. We'd go back to the station. We might talk a little bit about it at the station. We get back there and then we're back into our dark sense of humor, or we're just kind of redirect our thinking and talk about something else. Then the next run comes in. We get another fatality or another horrendous run. That piles up. We don't talk about that. And then years build up for some of us. And then all of a sudden it'll blow up either in addiction, it'll blow up in a divorce, financial ruin, or somebody will just say, I'm done with this world, and they'll die by suicide, or they'll just suffer for a long time. So in Jason's book, he is trying to bring that out to the light. And he's talking really about himself. And he's put himself out there being vulnerable like that. That's hard to do, to be vulnerable. It's very uncomfortable. Here's a guy that did that, wrote a book, and he shared it with everybody. And he opened the door for everybody to get better. Jason has made it possible for us to walk through that door. When he does his motivational speaking, or he gets on Facebook and shares some things about his podcast, Jesus is All You Need, just different things that he does. Now, Jason's, he'll be the first. He says, I'm the biggest nobody you'll meet. And he's a very humble guy. But I'm really grateful that guys like him can be vulnerable, in a book, in a big way. And now they're making a movie about it. Now, that's going to help a lot of first responders. It's helped me open up a little bit more. And I believe it'll help around all the departments around the United States, because this book has been sold everywhere. It's just amazing. The book is just touching everybody. It don't just talk about firefighters. It talks about childhood trauma. It talks about relationships. It talks about faith, and it talks about no faith, just a lot of different aspects if you read this book. It's a good book to read. It's also a good conversation piece. If you're around the kitchen table, get the book out. Hey, has anybody read this book? Here's what it talks about. And use some of that as a conversation piece to start talking with a new guy or with an old guy like myself. You get somebody talking, you share a little bit of your brokenness, that's going to open the door for them to share a little bit back. And that's what you do back and forth. And it goes with faith too. People with no faith or faith, man, just talk. You don't have to argue or bicker or put anybody down. Just talk and things will get better. I love it that this podcast, we're able to reach out to some people that listens to these, just like Jason's book reaches out to some people who like reading books and stuff. And we're just going to be another extension of that mission. We just want to save first responders' lives by sharing our story and lead them in the right direction. One method that we do that is Worldwide Peer Support. They do 3 support Zoom meetings on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can go to worldwidepeersupport.org and hit those meetings. Or if you need some help, you want to get a hold of us, just go to burnoutpodcast.org and you can email us and we'll get you some help. We can guide you to the right treatment facility that you want for first responders, or we can try to find a counselor for you in your area if you need us to do that. Get Jason's book. You can always email him. He's pretty good at getting back to you. It takes him a while because he gets a lot of emails. He tries to answer everybody. And he even answers the people that aren't so nice, the negative people, and he comes back with them with a positive thing because all of us don't agree on the same thing. And sometimes you can get attacked for what you believe in. But just remember, the people that are attacking, they might have a problem that they're just too afraid to handle and they lash out in a different way. So try to show them some grace at times while standing up for yourself. We appreciate everybody listening in. And the next podcast or two, we got a big surprise coming. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later, but stay tuned and keep tuning into us, and we'll let you know what the surprise is that's coming. And it has something to do with Jason Sautel. So we appreciate all of you listening to us today. For now, everybody have a great day today. Go home tonight. Shut your phone off and your scanner and get some sleep. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Burnout. Burnout is brought to you by the Worldwide Peer Support. You can visit Burnout Podcast at burntoutpodcast.org or visit Worldwide Peer Support at worldwidepeersupport.org. Your hosts for the Burnt Out Podcast are Skip O and Jeff the Old Guy. Produced by Sean P. Neal. A MyPodcast.Media production.